Afternoon to all. Welcome to TCS ION Digital VC Nano Conclave on the theme, The New Normal in Education, Strategies to Enable a Smooth Transition. So I would start off with a quick introduction of Mr. Krishnan, who will give the welcome address. Mr. Krishnan CA is our business unit head for education at TCS ION. He carries rich experience across geographies in the US, Europe, and India, working closely with Fortune clients across various industry verticals such as banking, telecom, manufacturing, retail, and education. Yeah, welcome, Krishnan. Over to you, Krishnan, for the welcome address.
Thank you, Darshan, and a warm welcome to everyone who has joined us today in this Digital VC Nano Conclave. As of the last count, we have more than 2,000 decision makers from academia who have registered for the event, and many of them I can see have already joined us live on today's afternoon. Unfortunately, Mr. Swami has had a personal emergency and he's asked me to step in for the welcome note. I want to extend a warm welcome to Professor Anil, Chairman AICTE, who is going to address us in a few minutes. He is going to be delivering the keynote address. And I also want to welcome the panelists, both from industry and academia, who are part of this discussion today to share their thoughts from both the perspectives on the new beginning in education, given the current challenging times that we face. These are definitely uncertain times. There exists a lot of anxiety among parents, students, and we as leaders from technology, academia, and corporates need to do our part in helping the industry smoothly transition. I want to definitely lay 4 key stakeholder expectations that we will hear more from the panel as well as from Professor Anil. The first key stakeholder in the education industry and the most important of all stakeholders is the student. At TCS and TCS ION, we have been working closely with students in this hour of need, trying to see what we can do to help them navigate this crisis. In fact, one of the courses that we launched earlier this year, the Career Skills Program, has been adopted by more than 7 lakh students across the country with industry-leading adoption rates. And what we understand as key expectations from students, the millennials, the digital natives, is to have access to high quality and personalized education. And they are hungry and quite in need for the industry to come in and participate to deliver to that expectation. The second key stakeholders are institution heads, such as all of you on this call. We have been working with our partners in the academia, trying to see what challenges them and see how we can play our role in helping them navigate the crisis and continue their operations. Again, a few weeks back, we launched our platform free of cost to institutions. We have had more than 20,000 institutions who have signed up and are actively leveraging it. One of the key insights that we did find is technology is only one dimension. We also need to focus on change management and adoption of technology that benefits key stakeholder expectation. And that's why we have been working very closely with all our clients in order to help them navigate the crisis. The third key expectation is from the faculty. Definitely our research and interactions have shown us that faculty don't want to be trusted with or forced to change their way of working. But the current situation does create a different environment for faculty to leverage technology in an easy to use fashion so that they can continue learning and meet the expectation of students, expectation of management, and more importantly, their own personal preferences so that they can innovate pedagogies that suit the subject that is being taught. And finally, and most importantly, the expectation of corporates as India's largest recruiter of young talent. We have been looking at ways in which our SMEs, industry leaders can participate. We've also been working with a lot of our partners, clients, to see how we can come together and bring context to education, start early, engage with students so that they get the right hands-on skills as well as mentorship, so that they can be much more better prepared to meet the job market needs in the future. So these are broadly the 4 key expectations from key stakeholders that we'll discuss more. And I look forward to seeing how we can, as industry leaders, come together to address the challenges that we face given the current situation brought in by the pandemic. So thank you. Back to you, Darshan.
Thanks, Krishnan. Yeah, so we have Professor Anil D. Sahasrabudhe, Chairman of AICTE. So Professor Anil D. Sahasrabudhe has been an institutional builder with a strong commitment to teaching and nation building. He has done his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering with a gold medal from Karnataka University, securing first rank to university in all 10 semesters, and a master's and PhD degree with distinction from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Given his track record in 3 prominent institutes in the country, he has been chosen to lead the All India Council for Technical Education, which is AICTE, as its chairman, and he has joined AICTE in July 2015. During his stint at AICTE so far, he has already introduced several reforms to make AICTE a vibrant organization and not just a regulator for technical education, but as a facilitator to improve the quality of technical education in the country. The world's largest hackathon, few initiatives such as the world's largest hackathon mentorship scheme for helping technical institutes, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, AICTE startup policy to promote innovation and entrepreneurship culture in India, and developing India's indigenous MOOCs platform, Swayam, are some of the initiatives launched under his leadership. Welcoming Professor Anil D. Sahasrabudhe, Chairman, AICTE. Over to you, sir, for the keynote address.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Darshan, for that introduction. And Mr. Krishnan rightly pointed out in his inaugural address, because he stepped in place of Mr. Venguswamy. And I know about TCS ION for quite some time. And he has raised expectations from the public in terms of different stakeholders, whether students, faculty, institution, managements, and industry, in order to overcome the crisis which we are in the COVID-19 times. I think I would like to talk about that a little while later. And Dr. Vaidya Subramaniam, who is the Vice Chancellor of Sastra University, Dr. N.T. Rao, N.T. Rao, Mrs. Uma Rao, Mr. Jagan Reddy, Dr. Jay Kumar, I think all of them, they represent 2 important segments. 2 of them Vice Chancellors and 3 of them from industry bodies. I think they will bring in values of HR in the post-COVID times on one side from the industry perspective, but the academicians will also talk about the preparation of students as to how they will be able to take it forward. I think it's a very judicious mix that TCS has planned for this particular one hour seminar, or whatever you call webinar. So I thank TCS for this. So my learning, in fact, starts with TCS in this respect. And that's why I would like to pay my obeisance and respect for Dr. F.C. Kohli. I worked with him for 9 years when I was Director of College of Engineering, Pune, and he was the Chairman of the Board of Governors of the college. He had already retired from TCS, but he was very passionate in education. He was working with IITs, he was working with COEP. One thing which he asked me, and which at that time I had not realized, today I see the value of that, is about direct classes of IIT Bombay being beamed at College of Engineering, Pune. I'm talking about the era of 2006, I'm talking about 2006-7 period, when Khan Academy had not come in place. We had no Coursera, we had no MIT edX. Some sort of online education had begun in some way in MIT, but otherwise there was very little in terms of the online education that was possible. So he asked me to buy video conferencing equipment, keep 3 of them in IIT Bombay, 2 of them in College of Training Pune, and so on, and then start taking those classes directly for our students. I think that was a game changer at that point in time. Today we talk about MOOCs, we talk about YouTube with so many content being available. I think therefore the online education seed was sown here in Mumbai thanks to TCS that time, and then TCS Ion also has come in. So I think when we are talking about the new normal and in education where we want to strategize in order to create a very smooth transition from what we are to a new normal. So this word new normal is often being talked about, which we are not ourselves aware, because we know that there was some normal thing that most of the classes were held in the face-to-face mode. Some people had already begun to have flipped classrooms or engagement in terms of blended learning. And some sample courses were taken by students through SWAYAM portal. Some of them were getting skilled through some of these various types of applications which were derived. AICT itself very recently had already started NEET, National Educational Alliance for Technology, where in a way it is a choice-based system. Choice-based credit system is all we know about. So how students can skill themselves by making use of some of the AI-based personalized learning tools, and which were all basis of charges, money being paid for the registration. After every 4 seats, 1 seat being provided free for our deprived sections of the society. I think this was all going on. But when we talk about new normal, today in the COVID times, since the educational institutions were all closed down, maybe somewhere around middle of March till now, May middle, and we have crossed that more than 2 months, and maybe likely to continue for another month. So we have faced a lot of challenges. I keep giving example of, I think, fluid mechanics. I would like to reiterate that those institutions which were capable of handling this situation, because they were already prepared in terms of blended learning, online education, for them it was a absolute smooth transition, which is like a laminar flow in fluid mechanics. Those who were in the boundary, who had little bit practice and who had wherewithal, they could have some perturbation and then they could manage it. But the turbulence began in those institutions where there was no strong net connectivity nor the faculty were trained. And therefore, we have already gone through this process of transition in some way, pre-COVID to during COVID times. Now, when we talk about post-COVID times, this smooth transition, again, taking the example of the fluid mechanics, I think the flow which we talk about in terms of transition is in three different forms. Material is in 3 different forms. It is in solid form, it is in fluid form, and it is in gaseous form. The flow is visible in the fluid form. You take any liquid, even the transparent liquid, like sort of water or mercury, we can visually see the flow that is happening, the transition that is happening. When it comes to gaseous medium, whether it is air or any gas, I think we can't see that. It's non-visible. Only you have to add pigment to actually see the transition and the flow. So AICT kind of organization, which is a regulator but becoming facilitator, I think we should play the role of mentorship, the role of that pigment, which will make this flow visible, transition possible. I think this is the role of people like us who are in the AICTE. Similarly, the same is the role of all the vice chancellors, how they can make it happen in the respective institutions. When it comes to solid, the flow certainly takes place at atomic level and or the nuclear level, but we don't see it, we can't see it. And you require a very high magnification microscope for doing that. And I hope the government and other facilitators, the industry, will play this role. So government, from way of some support which they can provide microscopically as well as macroscopically, but at the same time, industry has its role of looking at what are still the loopholes and which need to be plugged, and how we can support in the form of PPP model in order to support the entire education system in order to get a smooth transition. So now when we again talk about transition, I think few things which we have learned in these 2 months and maybe another month or two is necessity of online education. See, we cannot get away with it. So because social distancing may continue for next 6 months to 1 year, so we need to have social distancing. So it means all students cannot be called same time in the college or university. And therefore some students may stay at home and then attend to the online classes. Some of them will come actually in the colleges. But some may take an extreme stand that everything can be online. Some universities abroad have decided to do that. But I think in our context, it is important that students should come to a normal life, which is probably called new normal, that they must come to the institutions for a variety of reasons, whether it is in terms of playing games in the playground, exercise, yoga on one side, to other side, various types of activities through the clubs, whether it is music, dance, drama, painting. I think to create a holistic, environment and holistic development of students, we need all other facets of life also to be experimented. And education is not merely textbookish knowledge, but it's a lot of experiential learning. And this experiential learning also comes from not only laboratory classes, and therefore practicing in laboratory workshop, computer center is one side, but attending to various types of lectures, music, dance, drama is also a very important aspect which educational institutions have to perform. So our new normal will be having all of these aspects, and I hope many a times we make use of this word VUCA world, and this COVID-19 crisis itself was a VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and in terms of ambiguity, in all facets, it was actually a VUCA world. And this is what management students often talk about. But I am reversing the alphabets used there, VUCA, in the reverse order. A for, your attitude. Christian talked about attitude and also talked about adaptation or adaptability. So attitude, adaptability, and providing access to digital education to everyone. So A, ambiguity replaced by attitude, adaptability, access on one side. The complexity which already exists, and we need to overcome that through cooperation, collaboration, and commitment. And uncertainty which exists, which can be overcome by untiring work, unitedly, and with universal values. If you do all that, that V volatile will actually evaporate. It is volatile anyway, and in the process, we will be victorious, and we will come off in an excellent form in terms of our education sector. I think this is very important. And lastly, we always talk about stability, and this transition will lead to stability after some time. There will be a lot of experiments. Probably today, what is that new normal, we will not be able to define, but we know some contours of that. And different universities, different institutions will experiment. Some of them will succeed, some of them may not, but ultimately a new normal will arise maybe 6 months down the line. And that stable situation or equilibrium position will have a clear tripod, a tripod having 3 legs, and you need to be stable, then you have to have minimum 3 legs. And the first leg is students, second leg is faculty, the third leg is industry. If you all work together, I think we will be successful. Thank you very much, and I'm open to questions later.
Thanks. Thank you, Professor Anil, for your thought-provoking views. With this, we move on to our first panel, which is the academic panel. And the theme of the academic panel is how academic institutions and students are gearing up for building Industry 4.0 skills. So I would like to introduce our first panelist for the academic panel, Dr. S.Y. Subramanian, who is the Vice Chancellor of Study University, Tanjavur. Dr. Vaidya is an alumnus of Harvard Business School with interest in public and higher education management. His PhD is from MBA education in India, and he is a visiting scholar at the University of Virginia. He has completed his BA from Asian Institute of Management, Manila, Philippines, and BE in Electronics and Instrumentation from Bharathidasan University. He is a member of many MHRD committees, a member of CII and ASSOCHAM committees on higher education and various academic bodies. He is the author of Express Ideas, a book predominantly on education. So welcome, Dr. Vaidya. I would like to introduce our second academic panelist, Dr. N.T. Rao, Vice Chancellor of. I would like to introduce our second academic panelist, Dr. N.T. Rao, Vice Chancellor of MIT World Peace University, Pune. Dr. Rao has nearly 4 decades of result-achieving experiences in the field of education, strategic planning, accreditations, institutional governance, and others. In his career, he was associated with several institutions as an educator. Yeah, so Dr. Rao, some of the organizations that he has worked with includes NMIMS Mumbai, VIT University Vellore, Government of Botswana, and NIT Kurukshetra. Dr. Rao was involved with several prestigious projects for international funding agencies like the World Bank, IDB, AFDB, GICA, and others in several countries. Dr. Rao sets individual and institutional targets and achieves them adopting the people-centric approach. Welcome, Dr. Rao, to the panel. The moderator of this panel is Krishnan. So over to you, Krishnan, to start the panel discussion.
Thank you, Darshan, and thank you once again, Dr. Vaidya, Dr. Rao, for being part of this panel today. And thank you, Dr. Anil. Wonderful thoughts on how we can bring collaboration, universality, and emerge victorious in this current crisis. So my first question is to Dr. Vaidya. Sir, what are your initial thoughts on how academic institutions should gear up, especially focused on innovating pedagogies that can deliver to student expectations, the digital millennials expectation, at the same time meet faculty preference? So your thoughts.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Darshan, for the very charitable introduction. Thank you, Krishnan, for laying down the context for the academic panel. And I would like to pick from where Professor Sahasrabuddhe left when he said that you need those 3 legs for sustainability. And you had also rightly asked a question, which I think is connected with those 3 legs of the tripod. In my view, they are the student expectations, the faculty adoption, and the industry's aspiration. So all these 3 are those 3 legs insofar as the capacity of institutions to prepare themselves for an innovative pedagogy that could create the next generation of graduates who meet certain expectations of the industry. Now, all of this is possible only if there is a collective responsibility. Now, these 3 legs are there, but then all these 3 legs have to converge at a point. And this convergence is possible only if there is a collective responsibility to understand that the Industry 4.0 that we are talking about, for some, they know what it is. For some, they are just about to get there. For some, it is like theory Z, they don't know what it is all about. And it is in this very, very heterogeneous mix of stakeholders we are handling this Industry 4.0. Even without this pandemic, Industry 4.0 was a challenge. Now, in addition to that, this pandemic is again kind of complicating the challenge further, but we are ready to take it. The collective responsibility is, on one side, the generation of students. You identified them as millennials. I call them the generation alpha, who look for certain metacognitive skills. And this generation of students are the ones who would have never seen a fax machine or a typewriter, and living at a time when there are more number of gadgets than the human population in the world. So that is the type of students who are living. And the faculty also are the ones who, a diminutive population of them, know how to use technology, while a vast majority of them are still undergoing the learning curve experience. So it is in this context that we have to build an innovative pedagogy. See, again, innovation is a very loosely used terminology. I go back to the IDEO model where it again is a convergence of a human desirability, technological ability, technical feasibility, and a business or an economic viability. So only if these three are there, there is this convergence possible. So if the pedagogy has to be creative, we'll have to touch different stakeholders. And pedagogy, again, is not just the teaching learning engagement, it's the whole 9 yards that starts right from getting students on board, the right curriculum delivered in the right manner, assessing them, then again reassuring them, again ensuring that the learning outcomes are met. So it's the entire stream of activities in the academic value chain that gets embedded in pedagogy. And it is an extremely difficult task to align the complexities involved in creative pedagogy with the industry 4.0 for the simple reason that the half-life of what the curriculum that we have in place is a big challenge. It decays faster. And the shelf life of what the industry wants is also getting shrunk. So the industry says we want this today, and then when we deliver them, they look as though we are an academic outcast. We have already, we are delivering certain things that they don't even want it at this point of time. So it's a huge challenge. So this pedagogy and how to ensure that this collective responsibility works in coherent synergy requires one fundamental change where there is no longer a teacher-centric model or a student-centric model. It has to be a learner-centric model where a student is a teacher is a student, an industry is a student, an industry is a teacher. So everybody has to become a student or a teacher at some point of time to make sure that the pedagogical aspect, that dimension is created. The second thing, because of this online education, which is gathering a lot of momentum today, we are now feeling the need for that. But not all institutions can live up to that expectations. Some of them can deliver this, will be the X plus delta X who can differentiate. Some of them are already at the X minus delta X stage where it takes a lot of time for them to come to X and then think about this. So it's a huge challenge that we have to overcome. But the realization is accelerated because of this crisis. The realization is very clear, as Professor Anil Shastra mentioned. Students are going to come back to campus. So you have to be present in a physical campus, but you can afford to be absent inside a classroom. So you be present in a campus, but you can absent yourself from the classroom, but never can you be disengaged from learning. So that is the biggest lesson that we've got, that this online education, all the digital tools that we are trying to build will ensure physical presence in campus, but can afford physical absenteeism in classroom, but definitely will ensure that learning is continuous. You are not disconnected from learning. The last challenge before I conclude is the assessment also has to get creative. Pedagogy is not about just teaching, replacing a regular teacher with a video lecture. We have to again go to the next step of how creative our assessments are going to be, and also a large ethical component in this, how students are going to be ethical. In fact, our end semester examination that we are going to conduct online, which we are going to conduct using ION platform only, we are also introducing another element of how parents will also be co-partners in the assessment. So parents will also sign in the answer script that the student and parents, both of them were 100% ethically compliant when they undertook this online assessment examination. So again, the dimension of ethics is also very important. So the assessment has to be very creative. The tools for assessment, whether it is going to be proctored or not proctored, a trust element between the institution, the faculty, and the students. That's another important thing. And lastly, the skills or the competency levels that is required from the graduates. That's again a challenge, because institutions today are sandwiched between a failed schooling and an excessively aspirational industry. That they want the colleges to make good all the all the deficit that the school has given us with. And then the industry wants us also to kind of, they have outsourced the initial learning process itself, the induction process itself to the colleges, the higher education institutions. So we are also now facing extreme stress to meet the expectations of not just students, faculty, and industry, but also the entire ecosystem, which is a great challenge. So pedagogy is the key, and I think that the online and digital tools will be an interventional, a definite interventional measure that will move institutions from a state of X to X plus delta X. But this delta X component can never be greater than X, and that's why it's delta X. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vaidya. Very well said. Learner-centric model, and yes, it's a tall ask from the higher education segment, and corporates definitely need to play a increasing role in helping institutions make that delta much bigger. So my next question is to Dr. Rao. Dr. Vaidya did mention about this. Definitely, it is a challenge for institutions to stay abreast of the curve. And my question is more to you in terms of how should heads of institution look at keeping their curriculum abreast with the latest changes in Industry 4.0. And more importantly, this becomes quite challenging in terms of identifying and also meeting the expectation of corporates, like Dr. Vaidya already touched upon. So would like your thoughts on how to keep the curriculum ahead of the curve.
Okay, thank you, Krishnan. We're already 36 minutes into that. I don't know how much time I'll be getting. Keeping curriculum ahead. So whatever we are doing, it is to make sure that the students at the end of graduation are accepted by the industry. So we need to plan our curriculum such that they have the industry acceptance. We have already initiated steps in our university, consulting the industry so that we can factor in their expectations. That's one thing that we are already started working. At the same time, we're also realizing that post-COVID, it's not necessary that we need to be studying all those, let's say, 160 credits. If one wants to get a mechanical engineering degree, he doesn't have to be doing all that 160 credits in mechanical engineering. Of course, we are introducing the concept of MOOCs, where we can ask the student to get credits through online. Apart from that, we are also considering that if possible, we can give some new skill sets within those credits in which he needs to graduate for an engineering, or maybe in fine arts, or maybe in pharmacy, what the industry exactly needs. So we are readying our students for tomorrow by taking industry inputs into consideration. I think I've answered that question. Thank you, Krishnan.
Yes. I know we are running out of time, but I would possibly turn on the Q&A session. We have a lot of questions flowing in, so possibly a rapid fire round with some of these questions for the next 5 minutes.
Krishnan, if I can interrupt, I want to make one statement. Statement.
Sure.
Come March, the classrooms got vanished for both the teacher and the students. When I say classrooms got vanished, I'm talking about the old normal classrooms got vanished. But yet, every single teacher around the world, be it from Africa, primary education, or maybe South American secondary education, or European tertiary education, universities in the US, MIT, or maybe India, our own MIT in Pune, every single teacher around the planet Earth made sure that not a single student misses his education, no matter what the difficulties are, no matter whether the technology was there or not there. So on that count, I take this platform to applaud all the teachers around the world for being peacekeepers in our fight for COVID-19. Thank you.
you, Dr. Rao. And I think you said it very nicely. In fact, my mom is a teacher and she's one of the participants. Yes, I think, we owe it to all the teachers to, take the challenge head on and make sure that students are not missing out on the learning. We all know the transformative power that education has in our lives. Thank you, sir. So my one of the questions that is definitely flowing in is in terms of faculty development, and I would want to take the panel's view. Clearly, this is the time for faculty to adopt technology and also institutions' role in supporting them in this hour of need. So possibly, Dr. Rao, would you be able to give your thoughts on the same?
Thanks for asking that question. When we talk about the strategies, so what we identified is the people should be empowered. The reason I'm talking about not only faculty development, because technology we can adopt. You can pay the money across pay the money to the vendor across the counter. You pay cash, you get the technology. Everything can be brought. What can be done which money cannot really buy? That's empowering people. Please imagine students have lost their youth. That's the biggest damage caused by COVID-19. That's what I rate. Not just going to the classrooms. And when they go back to the classrooms, they would be in a different frame of mind. It's not easy for the teachers to handle those. That could be even 1 year later. So for me, it's very essential to ensure that the teachers are also kept in good humor. So we need to develop faculty developments. We've designed the faculty development. I already circulated a questionnaire to find out what are the training needs analysis we are doing, the gaps we have identified. We're also going big time into online education for the teachers and also for the rest of the world, so that the teachers are abreast with the knowledge. And if you have to invest in teachers. That's what I would say. Because you don't investing in infrastructure doesn't make much meaning, as much meaning as we invest in the teachers and faculty development programs. For that, the first and foremost for every institution is conduct faculty needs. What are the gaps that the faculty has to meet the tomorrow's needs, and then design the programs in such a way, invest in faculty development programs. And at the same time, I would also like to tell World Peace University, we are talking about strengthening from within, both the students and the faculty. We have made a strategy so that every single student is talked to by a teacher, inquiring how he is doing, how he is coping up. Otherwise, we lose the focus of the students. We are readying them for tomorrow, both the teachers are readying for them tomorrow, forgetting what they are undergoing today. So we are addressing that today. That's what I would like all the institutions to address the teachers and students today, what they are undergoing, and then so that we can prepare them for tomorrow through these faculty development programs. So this is my take. Thank you, Krishnan.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. I know there are a lot of questions flowing in, but we are running short of time. Possibly one question that has come is in terms of the remote internship. And this possibly Dr. Vaidya would like to take your thoughts. You spoke about corporate role, internships, and your thoughts on how important it is for students to take on challenging projects.
Yeah, since the internship is an integral part of the curriculum and the student learning experience gets enriched because they work very closely with industry mentors. The pandemic has made physical presence in the industry impossible, and as a result of which the internship, remote internship is getting redefined. Now it is called remote internship online, and I'm aware of the ION's launch of the remote internship online that has crowdsourced stakeholders, students, the academic institutions, and industry mentors into a common platform where there are so many problems that are defined by the industry. Some problems are small, some of them are grand challenges that are unbundled into small internship projects, and each of them carefully curated by an industry mentor who consistently and constantly guides the student. And there is also, I personally went through that also, there is also an introductory a webinar that gives them the introductory level of knowledge that is required to successfully finish the internship. So I think that this crisis has actually been converted well into an opportunity. And of course, it will be a business opportunity and nothing wrong in that, because this is definitely a game changer when it comes to the internship, considering that it is internship that provides students more learning than the usual classroom transactions that happen inside the classroom. And that you are able to shift it in an online ecosystem and also make it geography independent, make it volume independent, which means thousands of students can get an opportunity to work on online internship, is by itself one of a winning solution that has come out of this crisis. So moving forward, I would also think that just as online is going to be a supportive instrument for the regular classroom transactions, the remote internship online is again going to be a reinforcing multiplier that will enrich the learning experience of the student who need not necessarily go to the industry, but still work with industry mentors on industry problems online.
So thank you, Dr. Rao. Thank you, Dr. Vaidya. We will wrap up the academic panel now.
Thank you.
All other questions we'll answer it post conclave. Thank you, sir.
Krishnan, before I say sign off, I would like to use the new normal. Previously, we used to say thank you, bye. So the new normal, I have to say bye, stay safe. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. So, Smriti, over to you.
Yes. Thanks, Krishnan. Darshan, are you there on the call? Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. We had some pretty interesting insights from Professor Vaidya and from Mr. Rao. I just love the way in which Mr. Sahasrabudhe, beautifully articulated the transition and linked it to the fluid mechanics as a wonderful analogy, and clearly articulated what is the role that an academia and the corporate need to play. The academia playing the role of being able to see how the gaseous state is moving, and the corporates need to play a role to see how the solid state is actually moving. Yes, the new normal is evolving, and all the three legs of the tripod are essentially important for us to move ahead in the new normal. And as really articulated, it is the need. There's a need for a collective responsibility across the three legs of the tripod that we talked about to become Industry 4.0 ready. And innovative pedagogy is definitely all-encompassing of the entire academic life cycle, and we need to primarily focus on how we can become a learner-centric model in terms of the learner creating a pull towards the learning that is required, and each one of us are learners in our own right and space. I also like the viewpoint which Professor Vaidya brought out, where he said that remote internships is a reinforcing multiplier from a learning perspective. He's quite right in that approach, and that's the feedback that we're getting for this specific remote internships product that we recently launched. Moving on, it is my privilege to introduce our esteemed panelists from top corporates across our country. Our first panelist, Dr. Jay Kumar. He is the Vice President and Head of Corporate Human Resources at Larsen & Toubro. He is an HR professional with 32 years of experience in engineering and construction industry, with proven experience in successfully planning, designing, implementing, managing various strategic HR initiatives. He's also implemented various new age digital solutions in HR for delivering business results. Thank you, sir, for joining our panel. Before I hand over the question to you, I would like to introduce the other two panelists as well. Our second panelist is Mrs. Uma Rao. She's an HR professional with vast experience across the entire gamut of HR domain. She has worked across multiple industries, including IT, telecom, FMCGs, and is now working as VP HR at Ashok Leyland. Uma has led Mars to become a great place to work, and Ashok Leyland to be awarded as the AON Best Employer. And she's been recently awarded as the Exceptional Woman of Excellence by the Women Economic Forum. Thanks, Uma, for joining us. Our third panelist is Mr. Jagan Reddy. Mr. Jagan Reddy, 20 years of global experience in HR across various industries, across various functions of HR. He has led multiple transformative initiatives in HR operational efficiencies and has also led large acquisitions from an HR perspective. At present, he is the head of the Group HR Digital and Analytics at Mahindra Corporate Office. Now, from the corporate panel discussion perspective, the overall theme for the panel is in alignment with the other two topics that we've spoken about. Market undergoing a shift, and how can corporates enable students and the academic institutions to gear up for the shift? This gear up of the shift is in the context of, yes, the industry 4.0 skills that we talked about in the previous panel, and of course the underlying pan that we have breathing down our neck anyways. Larsen & Toubro, which is an engineering and technology conglomerate, has embarked on major digital transformations with a large number of company-wide digitalization initiatives. Dr. Jay Kumar, in this context, may I request you to please share your perspective on what are the major changes in the job market and how can institutions and students gear up to these changing requirements of corporates, considering the transformations that various organizations are going through at this point of time? Dr. Jay Kumar, over to you.
Good afternoon. Nice to be part of this Digital Nano Conclave. Thank you, TCS ION, for this opportunity. I'm happy that I am with the eminent panel members from academia, Dr. Anil Sarsadabudde. I saw his photograph and his forenode in the India Skill Report 2020. That time I never thought that I'd be part of his panel discussion. Nice to be with academic professionals and my friends from the industry. Today, the economy is going through a very, very turbulent period, unprecedented. Most of the sectors, whether it is, some sectors are very much affected, some are very badly affected, some are affected. So in different phases they are. Like for example, tourism or hotel industry are all terribly affected, including our construction. So most of the organization are going through an issue of one is the cost or a cash flow issue. Why I started this with this is because I wanted to say that the organization which can adapt to change will survive. The organization which is agile will survive. So not only just cutting off the cost, they have to realign with the existing situations, that they have to look at the long term into their structure, the nature of employment, and embrace digitalization or cost saving initiatives in various ways to remain. Customers have become demanding, so it is the survival of the fittest. So if the companies which can survive this situation will emerge out much stronger. So in L&T, we luckily a couple of years back we embarked on a digital transformation spearheaded by our CEO and MD, Mr. S.N. Subramaniam. So we to give a background, 60% of our business is from infrastructure. Then we have heavy engineering, defense, technology, and other areas. So we went on to a massive digitalization in the construction industry, which is typically a brick and mortar industry. So right from all the, for example, in different areas we did digitalization. In terms of machinery, we have more than 12,000 equipments across the globe. Okay. Everything was fitted with RFID and sensors. And at any point of time, data was pushed here, so which was looking at productivity, availability of machinery. It was looking at the fuel efficiency, preventive maintenance, like that. That is one area which was done. Another, workman, in terms of their monitoring of their safety, their health, their blood pressure, including all the vital parameters, the restriction into the areas in which they can work and construct. Entire thing got digitalized. Safety was a big thing which was digitalized, including training through AR and VR, and then through safety helmets which were tracking about their fitness and etc. Progress monitoring was another big area, real-time progress monitoring, as versus budget versus actual thing, what is happening across the project sites in different areas, material tracking, quality. We name any area into business intelligence modeling. We went into a massive digitalization phase. Including HR, we used things like AL, ML, etc. in the recruitment process. That has helped us really during this COVID period. We could do, other than the actual operation at sites, balancing, we could handle it with this. So for this, what is required? The main is the talent, the right talent, the capable talent, and with the right attitude, drive, and passion and dedication to execute the job. So talent makes, according to me, talent makes the difference. Unfortunately, in the skill report, I find only 46% of the people are employable, which are coming out in the India skill report. And we are also literally going through that, and we are seeing this. And some of the gap areas is, okay, one, right from domain, we have to focus. But what we find really missing is the application of the engineering and the latest technologies which we use, like business intelligence modeling, analytics, new age areas which has to be brought into the curriculum. And they should also be taught about some innovative methods like tunnel form, slip form, precast, automation. All those things should be brought inside. So these two, their focus should be first is on domain. There is no compromise on that. Whether it's a civil engineer, mechanical, electrical, the domain should be very, very focused. Attention should be given to the students. Next, what I see when I recruit a person is the learning agility. How can he pick up the things are fluid, as so Professor Saraswati was telling, VUCA world, things are changing like a mobile model. Things every technology you bring in keeps changing. So how can I learn, unlearn, and relearn? Whether the children or the students have that competency, how do I build that competency into them? Second, next is the digital mindset. Today, there is a heavy competition. It is the survivor of the fittest. So unless I reduce cost, improve efficiency, bring in productivity, I cannot survive in the market. So only way out is bringing in technology, digitalization, and automation into the place. So a digital mindset is the next level of competency, which I feel, which is very, very important to the students. Then other thing is the behavioral things, the positive attitude, the internal motivation, drive, need for achievement, and the can-do attitude. Now, how do you build that at the college level, maybe through various behavioral and leadership inputs if the organization, the academic institutions can give. Next is the personality, the executive presence of the person. How do I stand up, how I meet a person, how I create a first impression, that is very, very important. And there should be a session on etiquettes, communication, etc. in the college level. And I have seen some of the private institutions have dedicated full-time behavioral trainers in the colleges. So that is one area which we have to look at it. And another thing, when you in the organization, you cannot work alone. You have to work in teams. You have to manage teams. So how do I work with the teams? That is another area. So we can do it by improving the internship, case studies. I know I'm running out of time, so I'll keep it short. So we can help, organizations can help by giving internship, giving some, even some of the institutes or universities have approached us for faculty internship, right? So that they get this, and bringing in practical case studies, etc. into the subject. I'm sure that we will university cooperation between university and the corporates. If you have a regular interaction such like this, definitely they can work together and build the future of tomorrow. We have a lot of youngsters in the demographic dividend in the country. We will come out successful. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Jay Kumar. I think you brought out the points very beautifully, talking about the need for core domain skills, which is definitely hygiene. Also talking about the new age skills which are required, both from a knowledge, from a hand application perspective, which is important. We've also brought about certain soft skills, which is learning agility, how quickly the learner can adopt, person can adopt to the new requirements of the industry or the corporate that is at hand, a digital mindset. Last but not the least, the personality and executive presence. All of these points are very, and we need to work, various stakeholders involved in this entire thing on how we can specific. Thank you so much. So the next question for Mrs. Uma Rao is that, what is your perspective on how corporates can essentially participate in enabling students and academic institutions in the context of the changing and evolving talent requirements?
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Right. Thank you, TCS and all the co-panelists. I think it's been really nice to hear the views. Getting to your questions, Vritti, head on. I think corporates also as confused as anybody else when it comes to the current situation. So it's not as if we have it all clear in the head and we are ready to launch ourselves, because the way the customer is looking at our product, the product itself, okay, as well as the ways in which we are engaging with people have all changed in these couple of months, like never before. So it's not a CEO who has led a change. It's actually COVID that has led the change in the whole world. And nobody really knows how to figure this out. So what I feel the corporates can do is possibly, work collaboratively with the educational institutions to set up some kind of, innovative and incubation kind of projects that can help us go through this current situation. For example, notwithstanding this COVID, when we were looking at electric vehicles to be launched, none of the auto companies were really aware of how to do it in India, right? I mean, the MNCs who come to India also didn't know how to do it in India because India is a very different topography, for example. So we had to actually collaborate with a couple of institutions to start some kind of an experimental work on how to do it. And I think that's what helped us to create a whole pool of students who had a math background to work on the algorithms and logic and everything to be able to build what we needed to build, because we were a completely mechanical organization till then. And so to move to electronics was a big ask. So I think we have to co-evolve things. It's not going to be that easy. As Mr. Jay Kumar talked about, I think faculty development will be very important. They have to bring them into the, the organization to understand what turmoil is going on and what are the things that are likely to fly. And when they come into the institutions, they will understand that, things like, since nobody knows what to do, they have to be looking at analytics, data interpretation, artificial intelligence, etc., to see how you can understand the situation. For example, with COVID situation today in my plants, when my workmen enter, what I need is not somebody who can keep running behind them to check whether they are maintaining the social distance, etc., etc. I need something that is going to help me overcome that situation in a very technological savvy way. So if students are actually prompted to look at real life situations and work out some kind of, innovative solutions around it, and corporates can either sponsor it or be part with them or part sponsor it with the government to make that kind of a mindset shift in the student, which is very important. And that will also lead to the mindset shift of the people who teach over there. I think that is very important. Being online, it doesn't seem like the solution forever, because that's not the way people are going to learn. So definitely we will have to look at how we can get back to the physical space where people will understand emotions, etc., which is also very important in today's world. So for a minute, institutions should not think that everything has to be turning online. No, they will have to continue an element of face-to-face, because that really gives the true perspective of doing a lot of things. The third thing I believe, which educational institutions should pick up is how to work remotely. Currently, that is never paid. That was never in the radar of people. But today, I think people have to teach them the competency of working remotely, either as a team member or later on as a manager. I think that is very, very important. And finally, the fourth thing, because Mr. Jay Kumar has talked about hands-on, I'm not going to speak more. But what I want to say here is manufacturing 4.0 is here to stay, right? I mean, our future is going to depend completely on this. Innovative solutions in supply chain. If educational institutions start looking at these as real-time problems and give these real-time problems to students and evaluate them and grade them on that, rather than only going by the textbooks that they have been teaching forever, I think this is going to be a very important thing for us as as a community of people who are going to be hiring. I think this is something which is very important from my view.
Thanks so much. I think you brought out a very important point that yes, all of us are still struggling to figure out what is the how to solve this problem. And to essentially address it, we need to work collaboratively for sure. Very important perspective you brought in is we need to have these students take the ownership of what they want to learn, how they want to learn for sure. while the corporates and the institutions are there to support, sponsor them, they need to take the ownership. That's very important. I also like the fact that, it's not only about digital, it is about how is it that we can bring in a right mix of physical and digital. And the fact about how remote working is going to be the crux, right, in today's scenario and in scenarios to come. And of course, the practical aspect you talked about is also relevant in the context of manufacturing 4.0. Thank you so much for your views on this, ma'am. Moving on, I'll move on to our next speaker, Mr. Jagan Reddy, who is from the Mahindra Group, which critically behaves in the philosophy of alternate thinking to drive positive change for the future. In this context, I would request him to share his views on how digital initiatives can be embraced or leveraged by various stakeholders, whether it is a corporate or it's an institution or a student, a job seeker, or even an education technology provider, to cater to the shift in job market and enabling the learners and the institutions. Mr. Jagan Reddy, over to you.
Thank you, Smriti. And I think most of the things are covered by Jay Kumar and also Uma. It seems like what I'm going to tell is more about detailing of each one of them. Okay. Before I start the session, good afternoon, and also my special regards to all the vice chancellors and also the teachers. All of you are building the nation, and we are proud of you. That is my special thanks to you as well. Now, getting over to the question, if you look at digital, we are speaking about and the pandemic that we are going through. It sounds like I'm oversimplifying the whole issue. I think we faced many of these situations in the human history, whether it is a business or actually human life, a whole lot of things. I think we went ahead. There was no stopping that was there. So if I look at coming to the digital part, is it a mindset or it is a technology? It is a mindset. Somewhere both of them have covered, and all the speakers have spoken about it. Now, if you look at some time ago, there was something called an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. Okay. And before that, computers and a whole lot of things happened. Now there is a digital wave that is actually happening. So it is happening in incremental and monumental way in some places. I think it is not consistent. That's what I would say. What is a monumental as an example is that today, because of this pandemic, everyone is working remotely. There are tools, technologies available, and people are able to operate remotely. And every company has been prepared to a certain extent. It only reflected on them that how ready they are actually. I think most of the organizations have succeeded in doing that. So my aspiration is that digital should not become another wave. It should actually set in, and then it depends on how we put it to use. Let me come to the mindset shift. If you look at the mindset is more of procedural. What I would actually insist is it must go from procedural to transformational paradigm. Procedural is always actually narrow, and it is status quo, and it never actually challenges the status quo. It defines more of the boundaries. Whereas organizational processes, if you look at, they are interdependent, and outcome is dependent on cross-functional inputs. For example, you're talking about Industry 4.0, it covers and embraces many of those aspects that I'm talking about. Transformational is never ending, and it will constantly exist as you need to post change. What is ultimate thing today is tomorrow question. That is something we go through every day. Preceding and superseding steps in a process stage or interdepartmental handoff do contribute to decision making. Again, I see organizations putting excessive focus on decision making. When I say excessive focus, there are many of the transactional items you impose decision making there, whereas what you can actually do is simply convert them into a rule-based stuff and empower that in the system. You can actually get out of that. So what happens is if you put excessive focus on decision making, that is by human intervention, organizations and processes will become extremely complex. That is something we need to be watchful about. This is where the mindset kicks in. So for example, if you deal any of the digitization in a transformational way, what happens is it kills the supervision. It also helps you in terms of making organizations leaner, faster, and efficient, and the better. In a nutshell, what I'm talking about is it's a holistic digital enablement. If you actually deploy, it kills the flab in the process, people pyramids, costs, and at last the delight to the customers. That is what all have been striving for each of the businesses. The takeaway here is a holistic perspective. For example, a simple integration of the system across the organization can give a leap jump in the benefits. Move from just using the system as a system of record, use the data that is in the system for effective decision making. Again, I caution and I warn. Not every decision that you take on a transactional items is something to do with the decision making. You should just get away from that. Powering systems with artificial intelligence will help you become more effective right from purchase to shop floor to sales to human resources and across the value chain. If at all I have to ask a question, point me one process or one function that is not interdependent to argue there is no interdependence in each of the packet in the value chain. So that is something when I talk about digital, you need to be very mindful, and that is where is the paradigm shift required. That is from procedural to transformational you need to have. Now, alternative thinking, that is something our RISE philosophy, one of the pillars that we have for a positive change. Whatever that we listed, it is all to do with the positive change, both for organizations and employees, because employee experience will become much, much better if we can handle digitalization much effectively. It can resolve a lot of conflicts. It can actually reduce follow-ups. It can actually make people operate much more smoother. So now build alternative thinking. That's what I said. Like I began my comments with, nothing stopped the existence, no matter what. Questioning the status quo always remained. Only by questioning the paradigm you can actually change the paradigm. Devil is in the detail. This is something we need to inculcate across the stakeholders. All those three legs. That is what Mr. Saraswati was referring to. I think we need to be mindful of that, and we need to instill this kind of mindset. Legacy is always celebrated if you look at it for its heroics and also success in the past. I don't think this approach ever sustained. Organizations will go through the transformation constantly. That is where alternative thinking really comes handy. Doing same old good things is easy. Create the unsettlement in the minds for an outstanding outcome. And also what you need to do is, as you prepare students from the academia across the length and breadth of it, you need to create the fungible talent. I think somewhere everyone touched upon the point of across the domain with a little learning. That is what is our fungible talent. You need to look from academics, how many real life examples that you can bring as part of your academia. Do the case studies in such a way someone will come with a weird proposition that suits the best outcome. This is something which should be out of the box. Put students through real life examples as much as possible, open-ended questions. Use extensively the simulation. If you look at an aircraft, they'll learn the simulations fast. It is completely online, it is virtual. And then they get into the real machine. So that's how you need to look at. They're available in plenty. That is actually the boon that you have today. TCS ION, I saw many examples that they have as part of their platform. That's a welcome sign. Next is, we were discussing yesterday about lockdown is a boom in digital learning. Okay, there was a humor that was flowing around who brought the digital transformation, whether it is CIO, CTO, or a CEO. Someone said it is actually the COVID that brought the transformation. Okay, it is all about, the essence here is that you have only one channel. Okay, there are a lot of debates in terms of whether it is only online learning or it should be blended. My belief is that a blended is actually important. Not everything you can achieve through online. When you have no choice, probably you may end up actually doing that. What a digital learning got is a huge boost, because it's like running resources are completely democratized and they have huge access today. You are not at the mercy of someone providing it for you. There is a choice. Make every student in charge of personal development. Don't depend on the organization. This is something which should go deep rooted into the minds of people. That is how actually you need to have that learning centric organization. That is something which Dr. was referring to. So get out of the dependency on the organizations. Although organizations' endeavor is to provide the resources for the development. So last but not least, I cover on the point of future is about fungible talent too. It means you need to know the domain, function of the knowledge, and the skill. For example, many of the shop floors, if you come to Mahindra, the sector that is in the manufacturing, They're highly robotic actually. You can have 10 or 12 different plants that we have the big monsters there actually. We can monitor them at a central control room. That is a kind of level of automation. We can't anymore depend on recruiting these mechanical engineers on the floor. Having said that, should they not know about the manufacturing? Yes, they need to know about it. Don't they need to know about the mechanical devices? Yes, they should know about it. But do they need the skill to manage that? No, it is actually deployed to the robots, for example. So you need to look at these kind of situations where you can interchange these resources with little learning curve. This brings in huge engagement also in the organizations. At the same time, in academia, if you can actually put more focus on that, that would really help. See, today the need is about hunt for those within the organization. It is just like if I put an analogy, old patient is equal to a new doctor, isn't it? So it is simple. You need to work from those perspectives. Sometimes you may need to add a new domain for a fresh start. That is still fine. That is where actually you can do much of this domain knowledge imparting and all those things. If someone has to define what is a competence, it is knowledge plus skill plus attitude. So all I would say is let us go to the fundamentals. The much of it is spoken about the periphery. I don't mean to say spoken here. Generally what you get to hear is about the periphery. Okay, if you can actually have that kind of a strong general mental aptitude, you can actually handle change no matter what it is. What you need to understand is actually the essence. So my appeal to the academia is that please look at how your curriculum and approach supports this in the light of new expectations. Disruption has a root here. Disruption didn't come with any technology. It is technology was an enabler. It is actually what is that I'm delivering value to the customer. If someone has written this good book, N equal to 1 and R equal to G, this is by Krishnan. He talks about the customer is one. Okay, same thing for employee in terms of preferences. And so resources are global. So this mindset actually brought in the disruption, nothing else brought in actually. So underlining point is mindset. I want to leave one point for a reflection to all the institutions. We were doing something in terms of how we can revamp our graduate engineer trainee program. During the study, one interesting observation the student from XLRI brought. I think we need to rate the institutions, what kind of a quality of students they're actually producing. If I have to look at your digital ecosystem, if at all you have any of those things automated for you, do you have the personas defined for each of these students? Do you maintain different aspects related to the students when they enter the industry? Are you able to track at least for first 2 years? Are they able to actually cope up with what are the expectations that are industry? While we can facilitate so many things, we can put so many things together. Is that you are carrying back as a feedback into the institution? Are you able to course change? I think that brings in the agility in terms of whether you are up to speed with respect to the industry. I think that's a critical part. It is again about the holistic part of it. After the campus placements are over, except for the alumni, the umbilical cord is cut. Can you actually look at this perspective? There could be many. I just listed one example. That's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jagan Reddy. Very insightful points. Love the way you articulated procedural to transformation. In many times, it's about record keeping from a digital initiatives perspective, and of course, the talent fungibility of talent is extremely critical from corporate's perspective, and the feedback loop that needs to continuously be closed. So the last example you gave was very interesting in terms of how can we, have a more plan, do, check, act, and improve kind of a cycle incorporated, from campus to industry and then back to campus kind of thing. So those are very interesting insights. I'm sorry, we are kind of running out of time, almost 20 minutes over. We've overshot, the planned time of 4 o'clock. So we will need to skip the Q&A part of it. But, all three of you all have brought out your perspectives beautifully against the questions. There are some questions that have come. We would connect with you subsequently and then send it off to the participants, through an email or through a forum. Sorry about that to the participants on the call. I would hand it over to Krishnan to, complete the, the session, Krishnan.
So thanks, Smriti, and thank you, Dr. Jay Kumar and Dr. Reddy and Uma and all the panelists from academia and Dr. Anil. Wonderful session. As Uma mentioned, do we have all the answers? The answer is no, but I think we have made a strong beginning, and we need to come together. I've filled my book with a lot of notes and insights. It was on purpose that we wanted to keep this session short so that it's easy and to get maximum participation. And we need to, as many of the panelists has already highlighted, come together as industry, as academia, as faculty to meet the demand of all the key stakeholders in the ecosystem. I want to leave everyone with a final thought. I was reading that there is no country in the world that became a developed nation without a strong investment in the education ecosystem. With the current crisis, yes, things have changed, but this is also an opportunity for us to fast forward many of the thought process that we have always had and implement it in a way that can be absorbed by the industry. And we are all committed to do that. And as long as we are committed to this, we can bring transformation in education and fast forward our country to a developed status. And finally, I also want to highlight that what keeps us awake at night, it is the thought of those students in a tier 2 city, in the village, who might not have all the access to quality education that many of us have had and have been blessed with. So it is important to always keep that in mind and work towards transforming the entire industry and come together as various leaders to make it happen. As a next step from this conference, we are going to publish a point of view paper, bringing together many of the thought process that we heard in today's discussion. And we will also make a committed effort to answer all the questions. There have been a lot of questions. It's one of the highest participation, highest registration conferences we have had so far at TCS and TCS ION. Thank you once again. This is Krishnan signing off. Have a good day and best of luck. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.